going on, YouTube? Basically Gaming here today, and we're going over a deck profile with Mike and his prophecies.
Hey everybody, I'm gonna start the deck list off prophecies. 14 monsters, 20 spells, and 8 traps. I run some of my own decks in this deck that make it a lot different from the ones that are played in a lot of the typical regional and local local tournaments. And I'll tell you the reason for certain choices, but this is a World of Prophecy build, so it does run off-world, but I like to play High Priestess as more of the main boss monster, and you'll see how I do it. I play 3 Blue Boy. That's staple in any Prophecy deck. Since this is a World variant, I only need the 2 High Priestess. I don't run the 3rd one because I don't main her as the top boss monster. 1 World, I don't like playing 2 because it's dead if I get it in hand, but I have plenty of discard power, and it's easier to keep it in deck if I only have 1. But it's better for me to run 1 because of the other monsters that I run. This is another reason why I only run 1 World, because I only play 2 Temperance. I play 2 Temperance to keep the monster count down in the deck, but I also play 1 Justice to take the place of the 3rd Temperance, because I like the option to banish the Justice and bring the High Priestess and the Spellbook to my hand at the end of the turn. I have a bunch of cards that discard in here for the World, and I can also pitch Stoic, and I can get the search for a Temperance or a Justice, whatever I need next turn, so that's why I like Stoic. I play 1 Effect Veiler, because sometimes I run into problem monsters like Cowboy or Crimson Blader, and they stop me from making my plays. And now the rest of the monsters are purely my techs, but I think they play really well in this deck. I play 1 Magical Exemplar, because she allows me to special summon a monster just from my hand or graveyard. If I can play enough spells on field at a time and I have World in my hand, then I can just remove the spell counters and summon World out and get his effect, or if I have him in graveyard. So it's another option for that. Or if I have Justice on field or in hand, I can play her out and then I can summon Justice. I can put 3,300 on board, and then I can banish Justice, get my search, and still have something on the field.
That's not bad.
I play 1 Sage of Silence. Sage of Silence, this is another one of my personal techs in the deck. I like Sage of Silence because when she beats over a monster that my opponent has, my opponent can't activate spell cards for the next turn. And if I need to make a rank 4, which is almost never, I can special summon her with Magical Exemplar, and just that's how I make my rank 4s in the deck for Cowboy and just finishing up game. And then Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi, she flips Blue Boy face down, or she puts problematic monsters face down. I have a creature swap in my side deck if I ever want to swap it out for a Book of Moon, and swap Tsukiyomi with one of my opponent's monsters. Tsukiyomi bounces back to my hand at the end of the turn. The only downside to her is that she has to be normal summoned, she can't be special summoned. But that's my monster lineup, so let's get into the spells. I play 1 Book of Moon, again for the same reason I played Tsukiyomi. Flip Blue Boy face down, flip problematic monsters face down, all that stuff. Double MST, because people play back row, and I don't have Heavy Storm, so why not play the ultimate staple? 1 Spellbook of Fate, because it's limited to 1, but this is the best card in the deck. Spellbook of Life for getting World back out, or getting a Temperance or High Priestess, whatever I need to go into. I play 2 Power. A lot of Prophecy decks, a lot of competitive Prophecy decks only play 1 because they recycle power a lot. In my build, I like to try to keep my monsters on field, and having 2 Power, it gives me I don't have to focus on recycling power. I can use more of my efforts just on recycling fate, so I get more use out of fate rather than power. 2 Library of the Crescent. Again, a lot of decks play 3. I don't like playing 3 because this card gets cloggy, and having 2, it's a bad card, but I have to play it. It gives me more search power, and if it just becomes useful in some situations. I play 2 Eternity for the Fates and for the High Priestesses because I play 2 Priestesses. 2 Wisdom because it's Spellcaster's personal Lance. 2 Masters for all of my secrets. 2 Towers to recycle all of my spell cards, like my Fates and all that. And last but not least, the 3 Spellbook of Secrets, because every Prophecy deck needs ultimate search power. Play the Solitaire. Play it like you never played Solitaire before. But that is my spell lineup. That's 20 spells. Let's get into the traps. I play 8 traps. I play 1 Solemn Warning because there's no point to me playing Bottomless when I can just stop a really big play with Solemn. I play 1 Mirror Force to stop OTKs and just get big monsters off field. 1 Divine Wrath. A, because it discards World from my hand or Stoic. B, it doesn't target. C, it stops any monster effect. And the only things that can be chained to it are Dark Bribe or Seven Tools Bandit, other counter traps. And then I play 2 Wing Blasts. A lot of people are playing Raigeki in this format instead of Wing Blast. I don't understand why. Wing Blast doesn't destroy monsters, so when your opponent has something big on field that, like, let's say they have Yamato on field and they banish a hare, the Raigeki doesn't stop that. I like playing the Wing Blast because it just spins it back to the top of the deck, sets my opponent back turn, gets rid of problematic monsters, and Beals is out now. He can't be destroyed, so...
Just a personal preference with Wing Blast.
Wing Blast is going to stop it. And last but not least, my own personal attack, Triple Reckless Greed. No deck plays this. Everyone wonders why I play this. The good thing about Reckless Greed in this deck, instead of playing Upstart Goblins or Jar of Greed, is because if I have Spellbook Grand Tower on field, I still get my draw for the turn. And if I have 2 of these set face down, I can +4 and only skip 2 draw phases. It's good. It's not dead when I only play 1 and I have Tower on field. It's just overall a really good card in the deck, and it makes things run a lot more fluidly, especially seeing as how I don't play a 40-card deck. I play a 42-card deck. So that's it for the main deck. 8 traps, 20 spells, and 14 monsters. The extra deck is 14 cards, because I don't have a 15th to put in, but I don't really go into it all that often, but I have the option when I want to. The staple, Synchro Monsters, Thought Ruler, Red Dragon, Crimson Blader, Stardust, my German Black Rose, Schwarze Rosendrache, and everybody's favorite spellcaster, Tempest Magician, in case you need to burn your opponent for game. Just pitch like 4 cards from your hand, give her 5 spell counters, burn your opponent for 25. Now my X Seeds, I play 2 rank 4s. I play Maestroke for flipping things face down, and Cowboy because Cowboy's win condition. The 1 Prophecy rank 7, Hierophant, he's Heavy Storm, depending on how many spellbooks I have. I never really go into this thing. It's just kind of there. If I have 2 Priestesses on board, I can go into it if I want to, but you really don't use the extra deck in this at all. Shining Elf, because if I have 2 blue boys on the field, it makes them not dead, and my opponent's, it's a spellcaster, my opponents lose 500 on their attack. Herald of Pure Light, it will recycle monsters from my graveyard and put them back in my hand and then shuffle 1 back into my deck. So, it's okay, it's just more things to put on field in case I have 2 dead blue boys. Gachi Gachi for defense, and Armored Kappa. A lot of people don't even know what this does.
Yeah, what does that do?
It's While it's on field, um, when hold on one sec. Once per turn. Okay, once per turn, I can detach a material from it, and it gains 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense. But its second effect is, while it's on field and one of my monsters battles with an opponent's monster, I can discard a card from my hand. Let's just say that Dead World or Dead Stoic in hand. I can discard that from my hand, and that monster won't be destroyed by that battle or by any card effects for the rest of the turn. So I detach 2 material off of it after 2 turns, and it's got 2,400 attack and 3,000 defense. So I can keep discarding and keep all my stuff as invincible. I'm going to show you guys my side deck. A lot of deck profiles don't do this, but I have a couple things in here that I'd like to show you. It's only 12 cards. I want to make it 15. There are some cards that I want to get doubles of that I want to put in here that I just don't have right now. I play 1 Kaiku for Bujin matchups and anything that uses monsters in graveyard or banishes. Kaiku just restricts those decks. I play 2 Lila in my side deck. She's just kind of there because I hate people harping on me for wanting to trade my Lilas. But she's also there as MST, and she mills the deck, so she's fun. She's there from when I used to play Reaper Turbo. Jowgen, because he's Fossil Dyna for spellcasters. My opponent can't special summon, stop spam decks like Harpies and stuff. Then my spells, I run 1 creature swap in the extra deck. I usually swap this out for Book of Moon just so I can have a little bit of diversity when I play. Because I choose one of my monsters, let's say I have Tsukiyomi on board, I swap Tsukiyomi with one of my opponent's monsters. This doesn't target, I get that monster. Or I could activate Wisdom, call spell, and my monster won't be affected by creature swap. I just get my opponent's monster. So it's nice to have. I don't play Dark Hole in the main deck because it's kind of dead in my hand. There's just not a lot of times that I get to use it. So it's there when I'm facing things like Karakuri or something that puts a lot of monsters on field. And then 2 Secret Villages of Spellcasters. I usually drop out one or 2 of my towers for this because these go against spell-heavy decks or cards that rely greatly on the power of their spells, like Noble Knights or Prophecy Matchup. Actually, these cards are terrible against Prophecy Matchup, I can't say that, because if my opponent controls a spellcaster, they can still activate spell cards. But if I control a spellcaster and my opponent doesn't, they cannot activate spell cards whatsoever, so this can't get MST'd. Stops Harpies from activating their hunting ground, and it's just a really good card. I liked playing it. I tried playing a Prophecy Lockdown deck, but it was way too slow and it just wasn't consistent enough. D-Fisher, because I don't particularly care about banishing my monsters, it's mostly just the spellbooks, so this is nice when going against Bujins or something like that. Prohibition, again, Bujins, I call Yamato, or I could call Boars for Noble Knights, I could call Madrot, I could call all that fun stuff. Mind Drain, again for Bujins, because they have 4 Honest in the deck, so why not? Soul Drain for zombies and for Dark Worlds. It shuts those decks out, and it's just a good card to play. But yeah, that is my Prophecy deck. I hope you enjoyed it.
So what are the ups and downs of the deck?
The ups and downs of the deck, the techs that I put into the deck they're anti-spell. So my opponent can't activate their MSTs, my opponent can't play their lances, and they can't really progress their turn via their spell cards. They have to use their monsters and their traps, and as the game mechanics go, you can't activate traps on your opponent's turn, or on your turn, so you have to set them. So really it limits my opponent to using their monsters and just relying on monster effects to go off. Downsides of this deck, I can draw into staples a little bit, and if I draw into like Mirror Force and Solemn and stuff, then I won't really get anything out of it. So far with this, I haven't had a big problem against any of the decks that I've tested it against, except for Harpies. And the only thing that I've had a problem against Harpies with is when they play Lightning Shidori, because when it's summoned out, it spins a set card on my side of the field to the bottom of my deck without detaching materials, and then it can detach a material and send one of my face-up cards to the top of my deck. So it's like Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, except it gets 2 spins per turn. And when I set Blue Boy or I set a Stoic on field, that gets rid of my searches, so it sets me back a lot of turns, and it stops me from thinning my deck out. Aside from that, all the downsides are any downside to any normal Prophecy deck. But it's really not bad. It's good. So far it's worked for me, and I've had a lot of fun with it.
Alright. That was Mike's deck profile of the Prophecy. Hope you guys enjoyed, and you guys be good.